"Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the pharmacy?" The receptionist may say, "Take the elevator to the second floor, turn right, and you will see it next to the waiting area." Here's a story from a community event. Last month, our town organized a cleanup day. Families, children, and elderly neighbors all joined. One woman said, "It feels good to make our streets clean and safe." Her husband added, "This kind of teamwork makes our community better." You can practice this sentence. Working together makes the place we live in more beautiful. Hello, and welcome to English Without Limit. My name is Julia, and I am your host today. If you are new here, every day we bring you new episodes designed to help you improve your English in an easy, enjoyable, and practical way. Today's episode is perfect for B2 learners who want to practice listening and learn how to use English naturally in everyday situations. Together, we will explore real-life topics, listen to short stories, and hear useful examples you can start using right away. Let's begin with a simple everyday moment. Imagine you are at a small grocery store in the evening. You're buying vegetables, some rice, and a few spices for dinner. The cashier smiles, "Good evening. How was your day?" This question is often used to make polite conversation. You might answer, "It was good, thank you. I just finished work and now I'm getting some ingredients for dinner." This short exchange makes communication feel friendly and natural. Now, let me share a story about my friend Daniel. He works in an office, and last week he faced a challenge with time management. He had 3 important reports to finish in just one day. At first, he felt a little stressed, but he decided to make a clear plan. He divided his time into 3 parts: morning for research, afternoon for writing, and evening for reviewing his work. By the end of the day, he finished everything and felt proud. From this, we can learn a useful phrase: I managed to complete all my tasks on time. You can use it in your own work or study situation. Now, let's practice asking for help in public places. Imagine you're visiting a new city for a business meeting, and you're not sure where the library is. You see a local man, Mr. Carter, walking by. You say, "Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the library?" He might reply, "Yes, go straight ahead, turn left at the next street, and it will be on your right." This polite way of asking is very helpful in daily life. Next, I want to tell you about Sarah, who recently started a small bakery in her town. She wakes up early every morning, prepares fresh bread, and opens her shop at 7 o'clock. At first, very few people knew about her bakery, but she always greeted each customer warmly, saying, "Thank you for coming today." Slowly, more people started visiting her shop because they felt welcome. A good expression to remember here is, kind words create strong connections. Sometimes we need to share our opinions politely. For example, last weekend, my neighbor Mr. Ahmed and I were talking about community gardens. He said, "I think we should have more green spaces in our town." I agreed and replied, "In my opinion, community gardens bring people together and make the neighborhood more beautiful." This is a gentle way to express your opinion without sounding too strong. Now, let's look at a short example of giving directions at work. Imagine your colleague, Emma, is new in the office, and she asks, "Where can I find the meeting room?" You can say, "Go down the hall, take the first door on your left, and you'll see the meeting room next to the kitchen." Simple and clear instructions like this make workplace communication smooth. Another daily habit worth mentioning is keeping your home organized. My cousin John spends 10 minutes every night putting things back in their place. He says, "When my home is tidy, my mind feels clear in the morning." You can practice the sentence, "I keep my home organized to reduce stress." Let's imagine another real-life situation. Visiting the doctor. Last month, my Aunt Maria had a small cold. She told the doctor, "I have been coughing for 3 days." The doctor advised her to rest, drink warm water, and take some medicine. After 1 week, she felt much better. Here's a helpful phrase you can use. "I am not feeling well. Could you recommend something?" Travel is also an important part of life. My friend Thomas recently visited his wife's parents in another city. He said, "We enjoyed the countryside views and fresh air. The journey took 4 hours by train, but it was very comfortable." You can adapt this sentence to describe your own trips. "We enjoyed the trip because the weather was pleasant and the people were friendly." Now, imagine you're at a workplace meeting. The manager asks, "Does anyone have a suggestion for improving our customer service?" You can answer, "I suggest creating a feedback form so we can understand what our customers need." This is a polite and professional way to share your ideas. Last Sunday, my neighbor Mrs. Wilson invited us to a family lunch. She prepared rice, grilled chicken, and fresh salad. During the meal, her husband said, "It is always nice to spend time together and share good food." Moments like this remind us how meals help build strong family connections. You can say, "I enjoy having lunch with my family because it makes us feel connected." A quick learning tip: repeat simple phrases you hear during the day. For example, if someone says, "Could you help me with this?" repeat it to yourself later. This helps you remember and use expressions more naturally. Let's continue with a moment at a hardware store. Imagine you are buying tools. The shop assistant, Mr. Lewis, asks, "Do you need any help finding the items?" You reply, "Yes, I'm looking for a screwdriver and some nails to fix a shelf." This polite exchange is very common when shopping. I also want to share a story about Anna, a primary school teacher. Last month, she organized a reading event for the children. She invited parents, prepared books, and even created a reading corner with chairs and snacks. One parent said, "Thank you for arranging this. My son enjoyed it a lot." Anna replied, "I am happy to hear that. Reading together makes learning more fun." Planning your day is another useful topic. My cousin Michael, who works in sales, always writes down 3 important tasks every morning. He says, "When I write my tasks down, I feel more focused." At the end of the day, he checks his list and feels satisfied. You can say, "I plan my day by writing down my tasks in the morning." Shopping also gives us many opportunities to practice English. Imagine you are at a fruit market. You say, "Excuse me, how much are these apples per kilogram?" The seller replies, "They are $3 per kilogram." You answer, "Thank you. I will take 2 kilograms, please." This is a polite and natural way to buy something. Now let's visit a family story. My friends Robert and Emily redecorated their living room last winter. They painted the walls and added a wooden table. When I visited, I said, "Your living room looks very cozy now." Robert replied, "We wanted a warmer atmosphere for our family evenings." Here's a useful phrase. We decided to make some changes to create a comfortable space. Sometimes at work, people arrive late. Imagine your colleague James enters the meeting 10 minutes late and says, "I am sorry for being late. There was a lot of traffic." You can respond kindly, "No problem, James. let's start now. This keeps the conversation positive. Finally, let's talk about giving compliments. Last week, my neighbor Mrs. Khan baked cookies. When I tasted one, I said, "These cookies are delicious. You are really good at baking." She smiled and said, "Thank you. I enjoy making them for my family." Simple compliments like this help build friendly connections. Let's begin with a story about a man named Peter. Peter works in a hospital as a nurse. One evening, after finishing his shift, he noticed an elderly man having trouble finding the right bus stop. Peter said, "Sir, can I help you find your bus?" The man replied, "Yes, please. I am trying to get to the central station." Peter walked with him and pointed to the correct bus. This is a simple but powerful example of kindness in daily life. You can practice saying, "Can I help you with that?" Sometimes we also need to talk about the weather in English. My friend Sophia lives in a city where it rains often. She always carries an umbrella and says, "It is better to be prepared for sudden rain." One day, when we were walking together, I said, "The weather changes quickly here." She replied, "Yes, it does, but I like the fresh air after rain." This kind of small talk makes conversations natural and easy.
Now let's practice how to invite someone politely. My colleague David once said to me, "Would you like to join us for tea this afternoon?" It was a simple, kind invitation. I replied, "Yes, thank you. I would be happy to join." You can use this phrase yourself. Would you like to join me for tea or coffee? Next, let's look at handling small problems in daily life. Last week, my friend Clara had a problem with her washing machine. It stopped working suddenly. She called the service center and said, "My washing machine is making a strange noise. Could you send someone to check it?" The technician arrived the next day and fixed it. Clara was happy and said, "Thank you for coming so quickly." Here's another real-life moment from a bus journey. I once sat next to a man named Mr. Allen. When the bus became crowded, an elderly woman got on. Mr. Allen immediately stood up and said, "Please take my seat." The woman smiled and thanked him. This small act of respect makes public transport more pleasant for everyone. Now let's talk about learning something new. My friend Olivia recently decided to learn basic cooking skills. She said, "I started by practicing simple dishes like rice and vegetables. After a few weeks, she felt more confident and invited her family to taste her food." She said, "Learning step by step makes it easier." Here's a useful sentence for you. I am learning something new step by step. Let's move on to daily responsibilities. My neighbor Daniel is a father of 2 children, and he works full-time as an accountant. Every morning, he wakes up early, prepares breakfast for his family, and takes his children to school before going to the office. He once told me, "If I plan my morning well, the whole day feels smooth." You can also say, "I start my day with a clear plan so everything goes well." Now imagine you are at a small restaurant during your lunch break. The waiter, Mr. Harris, asks, "What would you like to order today?" You can reply, "I would like a bowl of vegetable soup and a glass of water, please." After finishing your meal, you politely say, "Could I have the bill, please?" Another story comes from my cousin Rebecca, who runs a small flower shop. During spring, she wakes up at 5 in the morning to pick fresh flowers from a local farm. She says, "Fresh flowers bring joy to people's homes." Last week, a man came to her shop and said, "I want to buy a bouquet for my wife's birthday." Rebecca helped him choose beautiful roses and wrapped them carefully. He left saying,
Thank you for helping me make her day special. This shows how small gestures create happiness. Now let's practice solving a problem at home. My friend Mark once had a leaky tap in his kitchen. Instead of waiting many days, he called a plumber right away and said, "There is a leak in my kitchen tap. Could you come today?" The plumber arrived, fixed it, and Mark said, "I appreciate your quick response." Meeting new people is also an important skill. Last week, a new family moved next door. The father, Mr. Brown, said, "We just moved here from another city." I replied, "Welcome to the neighborhood. If you need any help, please let me know." This simple sentence makes new people feel comfortable. Now let's practice asking for information in an office setting. Imagine you are new at a company and you don't know where the photocopier is. You can ask your colleague, "Could you please show me where the photocopier is?" Your colleague may answer, "Sure, it's down the hallway next to the meeting room." Sometimes patience is needed in real life. My Uncle William often travels for business. Last month, his flight was delayed by 2 hours. Instead of complaining, he said to the staff, "I understand these things happen. Thank you for keeping us informed." Here's a phrase you can use. "I understand the situation. Thank you for updating me." Now let's express excitement politely. My friend Clara passed her driving test last week. When she called me, she said, "I am so happy. I finally passed my test." I replied, "Congratulations. I knew you could do it." This is a natural way to show support and happiness. Another common situation is returning an item to a store. My neighbor Emma once bought a kettle that didn't work properly. She went back to the store and said, "I bought this kettle 2 days ago, but it is not working. Could I exchange it for another one?" The shop assistant gave her a new one, and Emma said, "Thank you for your help." Sometimes we give advice to friends or family. My cousin Nathan had trouble waking up early for his new job. I told him, "Try going to bed 30 minutes earlier and set a second alarm if needed." 1 week later, he said, "Your advice helped me. I feel more energetic now." Here is a useful phrase for you. I gave some advice and it made a difference. Let's also practice asking for directions in a big building. Imagine you are in a hospital and need to find the pharmacy. You can ask, "Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the pharmacy?" The receptionist may say, "Take the elevator to the second floor, turn right, and you will see it next to the waiting area." Here's a story from a community event. Last month, our town organized a cleanup day. Families, children, and elderly neighbors all joined. One woman said, "It feels good to make our streets clean and safe." Her husband added, "This kind of teamwork makes our community better." You can practice this sentence. Working together makes the place we live in more beautiful. Finally, let's talk about unexpected kindness. A man named Jacob was once carrying heavy bags at the train station. Suddenly, a young man came over and said, "Let me help you with those." Jacob thanked him and replied, "That is very kind of you." These small moments remind us how kindness makes everyday life better. Let us begin with a useful situation: how to make a polite complaint in English. My friend, Sarah, stayed at a hotel last weekend, but her room was not clean. Instead of getting angry, she called the reception and said, "Excuse me, my room has not been cleaned. Could someone take care of it, please?" The staff apologized and sent a cleaner immediately. This is a good example of expressing concern politely without sounding rude. Now, let's imagine a friendly moment at the park. A woman named Mrs. Lee was walking her dog. I smiled and said, "Your dog looks very friendly." She replied, "Thank you. He loves meeting new people." A small compliment like this is a wonderful way to start a conversation. Here's another real story, this time from public transport. My friend Ethan once forgot his wallet on the bus. A kind passenger found it and gave it to the driver. Later, the driver called Ethan and said, "Your wallet is safe. You can pick it up at the office." Ethan was very thankful and replied, "I appreciate your honesty." Moments like this show kindness in everyday life. Let's also practice how to share good news. My sister recently finished an important project at work. At dinner, she told us, "I completed my project today, and my manager was very happy with the result. We all smiled and said, 'Well done! You worked hard for it.'" Simple, supportive responses like this can encourage friends and family. Sometimes we need to ask people to repeat information politely. Imagine you are on the phone with your bank and the person says a number too quickly. You can say, "Could you repeat that slowly, please?" This way, you stay polite and avoid mistakes. Gratitude is another important skill. Last week, my neighbor brought me fresh vegetables from her garden. I said, "Thank you for thinking of me. These look wonderful." She replied, "You're welcome. I enjoy sharing what I grow." Now let's move to the classroom. A student named Daniel forgot his homework. He said to his teacher, "I'm sorry, I left my homework at home. Can I bring it tomorrow?" The teacher replied, "Yes, but please remember next time." A polite request often receives a positive answer. Helping others is also a great way to practice English. My friend Laura once saw a woman struggling with heavy shopping bags. Laura said, "Can I carry one for you?" The woman smiled and replied, "Thank you. That would be very helpful." Now, let's move into a workplace example. My friend Olivia started a new job in a travel agency. On her first day, she introduced herself and said, "Hello, my name is Olivia. I am excited to join this team and learn more about travel services." Her manager replied, "Welcome, Olivia. We are happy to have you." This is a polite and positive way to begin at a new job. You can practice saying, "I am happy to join this team and learn new things." Sometimes plans change because of the weather. Last week, my Uncle Samuel planned a picnic. The morning was sunny, but by noon it started raining heavily. Instead of being upset, he said, "Let us enjoy this moment. We can have our picnic at home." So the family prepared food in the living room and had fun together. A useful phrase here is, "We changed our plan because of the weather, but we still enjoyed the time." In daily life, we often need help in supermarkets. Imagine you're looking for cooking oil. You see an employee and say, "Excuse me, could you tell me where the cooking oil is?" He may answer, "Yes, it is in the next aisle near the rice." Simple, polite questions make shopping easier. Now, let's visit a school event. My neighbor Sarah is a teacher. She organized a science fair. Many parents came, and one father said, "I am impressed with how the students explained their projects." Sarah replied, "Thank you. They worked very hard, and this event helps them gain confidence." Borrowing and returning items is also part of daily life. My friend Michael borrowed a ladder from his neighbor. After using it, he returned it and said, "Thank you for lending me your ladder. It was very helpful." The neighbor smiled and replied, "You're welcome. I'm glad it helped. Now, let's see how to refuse politely. My colleague Emma once invited me for tea. She said, "Would you like to join us this evening?" I replied, "Thank you for inviting me, but I already have another appointment." This way, you stay polite while saying no. Here is another everyday situation, moving to a new house. My friend David recently moved with his wife and little daughter. On the first weekend, they invited their neighbors for tea. David said, "We wanted to meet everyone and make new friends." One of the neighbors replied, "That is very thoughtful. It is nice to have friendly people nearby." Inviting people in this way builds strong community connections. Now, let's look at asking for clarification in a meeting. Imagine your manager gives instructions very quickly and you miss one detail. You can say, "Could you please explain the last part again?" This shows you are paying attention and want to do the task correctly. Sometimes we receive advice from older family members. My grandfather once told me, "Always save a little money each month. It helps in times of need." I followed his advice, and later, when I had to pay for unexpected repairs, I was thankful for his wisdom. You can use this sentence yourself. I followed my grandfather's advice, and it helped me a lot. Now, let's enjoy a travel story. My friend James visited a mountain town for work. He stayed in a small guest house owned by a kind family. Each morning, they offered him breakfast with warm bread and tea. James said, "The hospitality here makes me feel at home." This is a wonderful way to describe warm and friendly treatment. Next, let's practice asking for permission politely. My colleague Lisa needed to leave work 1 hour early because her child was sick. She went to her manager and said, "May I leave a little earlier today? My child is not feeling well." The manager replied, "Yes, please take care of your family." This is a polite and responsible way to ask for permission. Now imagine you meet a lost tourist. Last month, I saw a visitor near the bus stop who looked confused. He said, "Excuse me, can you tell me how to get to the city park?" I replied, "Yes, go straight for 2 blocks and turn right. The park will be on your left." He smiled and said, "Thank you. You are very kind." Here is another small but friendly workplace moment. My colleague Peter once brought homemade bread. I tried it and said, "This bread tastes great. Did you bake it yourself?" He smiled and replied, "Yes, I baked it last night. I enjoy trying new recipes." A simple compliment often leads to a pleasant conversation. Now, let's picture a busy train station. My Aunt Rachel was carrying her baby and a heavy bag. A young man noticed and said, "Let me help you carry that bag." She smiled and replied, "Thank you. That is very helpful." Acts of kindness like this make daily travel easier. Now, let's talk about future plans. My neighbor Thomas said last weekend, "We are planning to visit my wife's parents next month. We want to spend a few days with them and help in their garden." This is a natural way to talk about upcoming family visits. Sometimes delays happen. My friend John was late for an appointment. When he arrived, he said, "I am sorry for being late. There was construction on the road." The other person replied, "That is all right. Thank you for letting me know." This is a polite way to explain and accept a delay. Now, let's see a polite request in a bakery. Imagine you buy a loaf of bread, but you want it sliced. You can say, "Could you slice the bread for me, please?" The shop assistant may answer, "Of course, no problem." Sometimes it's important to give positive feedback. My cousin Maria attended a cooking class. Afterwards, she said to the instructor, "Your teaching style is very clear. I learned a lot today." The instructor smiled and replied, "Thank you for the kind words." Another example comes from a community meeting. One person said, "I think we should plant more trees along the streets." My friend William replied, "That is a great idea. It will make our town more pleasant." This shows support for good suggestions.
And sometimes we simply need to comfort someone. My neighbor Emily lost her cat for 2 days. When she finally found it, she said, "I was so worried." I replied, "I'm glad your cat is safe now." Short, caring sentences can mean a lot. Let us begin with a moment of sharing success in a modest way. My friend Clara recently got a new position at her office. She said, "I am happy to share that I have been promoted. It feels good to see my hard work recognized." This is a polite and humble way to talk about achievements. Sometimes we need to ask for a small favor politely. My colleague Nathan once said, "Could you please send me the report by this evening? I need it for tomorrow's meeting." This is a simple and respectful request. Now let us think about a very common daily task, visiting the bank. My friend Henry went to his bank to open a savings account. The bank clerk greeted him. "Good morning. How can I help you today?" Henry replied, "I would like to open a savings account, please." The clerk asked for his identification and explained the process. At the end, Henry said, "Thank you for your assistance." This is a polite way to manage financial tasks. At home, we sometimes need to give clear instructions. My cousin Laura asked her husband to help with dinner. She said, "Please cut the vegetables into small pieces and put them in the bowl." He followed her instructions and dinner was ready quickly. This shows how direct but polite language works well in teamwork. Now let's go shopping for clothes. My neighbor Sophia went to buy a new coat. The shop assistant said, "Would you like to try a larger size?" Sophia replied, "Yes, please. The one I am wearing feels a little tight." After trying the new size, she said, "This one fits perfectly. I will take it." Here's another real-life example from a community meeting. Mr. Adams, an elderly man, said, "We need to make the sidewalk safer for children." A young father added, "I agree with you. Adding better lights would help too." This shows how people can share ideas respectfully. Think about asking for help with heavy items. Last week, my Aunt Helen had a big box to move upstairs. She asked her neighbor, "Could you help me carry this box? It is too heavy for me." The neighbor replied, "Of course, I will help you." Simple requests like this build cooperation in daily life. Sometimes we also talk about simple pleasures. My friend Samuel enjoys gardening. He said, "I spend 30 minutes every morning watering the plants. It makes me feel calm." You can also use this sentence to describe your own routine. "I enjoy spending time in my garden because it relaxes me." Now let's look at a polite way to handle a late delivery. My colleague Emma ordered office supplies online. They arrived 2 days late. She called customer service and said, "I ordered these items last week, but they came later than expected. Could you make sure it does not happen next time?" The agent apologized and even offered her a discount. Inside a shopping mall, we often need directions. A visitor named Mr. Carter asked a staff member, "Excuse me, where can I find the electronics section?" The staff replied, "Go straight ahead and take the escalator to the second floor." Here's another everyday situation, a medical appointment. My friend Olivia went to the dentist for a regular checkup.
The dentist said, "Your teeth look healthy, but you need to brush twice a day." Olivia replied, "Thank you for the advice. I will follow it." Another daily situation comes from a doctor's office. My Uncle George had an appointment last month. The doctor said, "Your blood pressure is a little high. Please reduce salt in your food." George replied, "Thank you, doctor. I will follow your advice." This shows how to receive medical instructions politely. Let us think about a polite way to ask for service at a cafe. My friend Clara went to a coffee shop. She said, "Could I have a cappuccino with less sugar, please?" The barista replied, "Of course, I will prepare it right away." After looking at the menu, Anna said, "I would like the vegetable soup and salad." This is a polite and clear way to order. Sometimes we confirm information. My cousin David called a hotel and said, "I booked a room for 2 nights. Could you please confirm my reservation?" The receptionist replied, "Yes, we have your booking under your name." Confirming details helps avoid confusion. Think about daily greetings. When I visit my local bakery, the baker always says, "Good morning, how are you today?" I usually reply, "I'm fine, thank you. How are you?" Simple greetings like this create a friendly atmosphere. Here's another example from school life. A teacher said to her students, "Please complete the homework by Friday. If you have questions, ask me after class." One student replied, "Thank you, I will check with you tomorrow." This shows respect and clarity in learning. Now let us talk about travel. My friend Maria was at the airport. She asked an officer, "Excuse me, where is the boarding gate for flight 204? The officer replied, "It is at gate 7, just down this hall." Maria thanked him and followed the directions. Sometimes we share small challenges at home. My neighbor Peter said, "The washing machine is not working. I need to call a repair service." Sharing such updates often leads to advice or help from others. Another real-life example comes from a birthday surprise. My friend Sarah planned a party for her best friend. She said to her family, "Please keep it a secret. We will surprise her at 6 o'clock." Everyone agreed and decorated the living room with colorful balloons. This is a simple way to show excitement while organizing an event. Let us think about a polite way to handle a noisy situation. My neighbor, Mr. Carter, spoke to the upstairs resident and said, "Good evening. The noise from your television is quite loud. Could you turn it down a little?" The resident replied, "I am sorry about that. I will lower the volume." This is a gentle way to address a problem respectfully. Here is a moment about using public transport cards. A young man at the station told the staff, "My travel card is not working at the gate. Could you check it?" The staff replied, "Yes, it seems the balance is low. Please recharge it at the counter." Small practical questions like this happen every day. Sometimes we share how we start the day. My cousin Emily said, "I wake up at 6, drink a glass of water, and do a 10-minute stretch. It helps me feel fresh and ready for the day." You can use this sentence to describe your own morning routine. Let us talk about a polite way to offer help. At the office, James saw his colleague carrying heavy files. He said, "Let me help you with those files. They look heavy." She replied, "Thank you. That is very kind." Offering help this way creates a positive environment. Think about asking for the bill at a restaurant. A customer said, "Excuse me, could we have the bill, please?" The waiter replied, "Yes, I will bring it right away." Using polite phrases like this makes dining experiences smooth. Here is an example of describing a simple problem at home. My aunt said, The washing machine is making a strange noise. I think we need to call a technician. Communicating clearly helps solve problems efficiently. Sometimes we express our preferences. My friend Anna said, "I prefer drinking tea in the evening rather than coffee. It helps me sleep better." This is a natural way to share personal choices politely. Let us talk about arranging a meeting. Mr. Wilson wrote an email to his team. "Could we meet tomorrow at 10 o'clock to discuss the new project?" Everyone replied, "Yes, that time works for us." This is a polite and effective way to schedule meetings. Think about asking someone to take a photo. A tourist said to a passerby, "Excuse me, could you take a picture of me in front of this monument?" The passerby replied, "Sure. Please stand a little to the left so the building is visible." This shows a friendly and clear way to ask for help. Sometimes we talk about things we forgot. My sister said, "I forgot to water the plants yesterday. They look dry today." Sharing small mistakes is part of everyday life. Here is a moment about paying with a card. A customer said at the shop counter, "Can I pay with my debit card?" The cashier replied, "Yes, please tap your card on the machine." Using polite phrases keeps transactions smooth. Think about a polite way to borrow something. My neighbor asked me, "Could I borrow your ladder for an hour? I need to fix a light." I replied, "Yes, you can take it. Please return it in the evening." Simple, respectful requests like this create trust. Sometimes we describe our weekend plans. My friend Peter said, "We plan to visit the new park on Saturday and have a picnic there." Sharing plans helps start friendly conversations. Let us talk about asking for a menu in a cafe. A visitor said, "Excuse me, may I have a menu, please?" The waitress replied, "Yes, here you go. We also have today's special on the board." Using polite phrases makes interactions smooth and comfortable. Think about reporting a small issue at work. My colleague Lisa said to the manager, "The printer is out of paper. Should I order more?" The manager replied, "Yes, please place an order for 2 boxes." This is a clear and polite way to handle work tasks. Sometimes we want to share something we learned. My friend Michael said, "I watched a documentary about space yesterday. It was very interesting." Talking about what we learn encourages conversation and curiosity. Here is a moment about helping an elderly person. A young boy said, "Can I carry this bag for you, ma'am?" The elderly woman smiled and replied, "Thank you. That is very helpful." Small acts of kindness make daily life better for everyone. Think about describing food. My cousin said, "The soup tastes a little salty. Could you add some water to it?" This is a polite way to express a preference or make a request. Sometimes we talk about simple exercise. My father said, "I walk for 20 minutes after dinner every night. It helps with digestion." This is a useful sentence to describe healthy routines. Let us look at a polite way to check information. A student said to the teacher, "Could you please explain this part again?" Asking politely helps avoid misunderstandings and shows respect. Here is a moment about buying a train ticket. A traveler asked, "How much is a one-way ticket to the city center?" The clerk replied, "It is $5. Would you like to buy it now?" Simple questions like this make travel easier. Sometimes we express happiness about small things. My neighbor said, "I received a letter from an old friend today. It made me smile." Sharing small joys brings positivity to conversations. Here is an example of reminding someone politely. A secretary said, "Just a quick reminder, your appointment is at 3 o'clock this afternoon." Using gentle reminders keeps communication smooth. Think about describing a daily routine at work. My friend David said, "I start my day by checking emails, then I attend the morning meeting." This is a clear way to share professional routines. Sometimes we ask for an opinion. My cousin asked, "Do you think this color looks good on me?" Her friend replied, "Yes, it suits you very well." Asking politely invites helpful feedback and shows respect. Now, let us think about sharing a small achievement in a friendly way. My friend Clara got a new position at her office. She said, "I'm happy to share that I have been promoted. It feels good to see my hard work recognized." Sharing achievements modestly is a natural way to celebrate success. Sometimes we want to ask for a small favor politely. My colleague Mathan said, "Could you please send me the report by this evening? I need it for tomorrow's meeting." This is a clear and polite way to request help. Let us start with a simple daily task, visiting a bank. My friend Henry went to open a savings account. The bank clerk said, "Good morning. How can I help you today?" Henry replied, "I would like to open a savings account, please." The clerk asked for his identification and explained the process. After finishing, Henry said, "Thank you for your assistance." Polite phrases make financial tasks easier to handle. Sometimes we need to give someone clear instructions at home. My cousin Laura asked her husband to help with dinner preparation. She said, "Please cut the vegetables into small pieces and put them in the bowl." He followed her instructions and dinner was ready quickly. Clear and polite directions help in teamwork and daily life. Now let's talk about shopping for clothes. My neighbor Sophia went to a store to buy a new coat. The shop assistant asked, "Would you like to try a larger size?" Sophia replied, "Yes, please. The one I am wearing feels a little tight." After trying the new size, she said, "This one fits perfectly. I will take it." Simple, polite exchanges like this make shopping pleasant. Another real-life moment comes from a community meeting. Mr. Adams, an elderly man, said, "We need to make the sidewalk safer for children." A young father replied, "I agree with you. Adding better lights would help too." Respectful discussions help communities find solutions together. Think about asking for help when carrying heavy items. Last week, my Aunt Helen had a big box to move upstairs. She asked her neighbor, "Could you help me carry this box? It is too heavy for me." The neighbor replied, "Of course, I will help you." Polite requests like this create cooperation in daily life. Sometimes we talk about simple pleasures. My friend Samuel enjoys gardening. He said, "I spend 30 minutes every morning watering the plants. It makes me feel calm." You can use this sentence to describe routines that bring happiness. Let us look at a polite way to handle a late delivery. My colleague Emma ordered office supplies online. They arrived 2 days late. She called customer service and said, "I ordered these items last week, but they came later than expected. Could you make sure it doesn't happen next time?" The agent apologized and offered a discount. Clear communication solves problems smoothly. Now consider asking for directions inside a shopping mall. A visitor, Mr. Carter, asked a staff member, "Excuse me, where can I find the electronics section?" The staff member replied, "Go straight ahead and take the escalator to the second floor." Simple questions like this make shopping more efficient. Sometimes we need to describe a medical appointment. My friend Olivia went to the dentist for a checkup. The dentist said, "Your teeth look healthy, but you need to brush twice a day." Olivia replied, "Thank you for the advice. I will follow it." This is a polite and positive way to respond to guidance. Here is a story about teamwork at work. My colleague Daniel had to prepare a presentation with 2 other team members. He said, "Let us divide the tasks. I will create the slides, Sarah will write the report, and James will check the data." By working together, they finished before the deadline. Clear communication and cooperation make teamwork effective. Think about a polite way to ask someone to wait. A shop assistant said to me, "Could you wait a moment while I check the stock in the back room?" I replied, "Yes, of course. I will wait here." Simple, courteous phrases create smooth interactions. Now, let us talk about planning a family dinner. My sister invited our parents last weekend. She said, "We are planning to have dinner at 6. Please come early so we can spend more time together." This shows care, thoughtfulness, and organization. Sometimes we share something good that happened during the day. My friend Peter said, "I finished all my work early, so I had time to read a book in the park." Sharing small positive events make conversations warm and friendly. Here is an example of making a polite request in public. A woman on the bus said to the driver, "Could you please stop near the next pharmacy? I need to get some medicine." The driver replied, "Yes, I will stop there." Polite requests create smooth interactions in everyday situations. Let us talk about helping children with homework. My neighbor, Mrs. Wilson, helps her son every evening. She says, "I do not give him the answers, but I explain the questions so he can solve them." This encourages learning, independence, and confidence. Sometimes we want to check if something is available. My colleague Jack called a hotel and said, "Do you have any rooms available for next Friday?" The receptionist replied, "Yes, we have a double room for that date." Clear and polite questions help get information efficiently. Another daily moment comes from a repair shop. My friend Maria had a broken chair. She said to the carpenter, "Could you fix this chair? One of the legs is loose." He replied, "Yes, I can repair it by tomorrow." Simple and polite requests make problem solving easier. Let us begin by talking about asking for help in a shop. A woman politely said, "Excuse me, where can I find the sugar?" The shop assistant replied, "It is on the second aisle near the tea section." This is a simple and clear way to get assistance in a store. Think about explaining a delay. My colleague said, "I'm late because the traffic was heavy today." Explaining reasons politely helps others understand your situation. Sometimes we describe a happy event. My sister said, "We celebrated our parents' anniversary yesterday with a small dinner." Sharing joyful moments makes conversations warmer. Here is a moment about setting an alarm. My friend said, "I set my alarm for 6 o'clock, but I woke up at 5:30. Small details like this can spark friendly chatter. Think about giving a polite refusal. A man offered a woman another cup of coffee. She replied, "No, thank you. I have already had enough." Polite refusals help maintain respect and friendliness. Sometimes we share plans with family. My uncle said, "We're going to visit your grandparents next Sunday." Simple phrases like this keep everyone informed. Let us talk about offering something at home. A host said, "Would you like some more rice?" The guest replied, "Yes, just a little, please." Courteous offers make meals more pleasant. Think about expressing curiosity. A child asked, "Why do birds fly south in winter?" The teacher replied, "Because it is warmer there and they can find food more easily." Questions like this encourage learning and conversation. Sometimes we talk about cleaning. My neighbor said, "I clean my windows every 2 weeks to keep them clear." Sharing routines is a common topic in daily life. Here is a moment about forgetting an item. My friend said, "I left my wallet at home. Could you lend me some money for the bus?" Simple requests for help are natural in everyday situations. Think about asking for time. A stranger asked, "Excuse me, what time is it now?" Another person replied, "It is 3 o'clock." Short, polite exchanges like this are common and practical. Sometimes we describe something we enjoy watching. My sister said, "I enjoy watching cooking shows in the evening." Sharing personal interests opens friendly dialogue. Let us look at a polite way to ask for help in a park. A visitor said, "Could you please take me to the nearest exit? I'm new here." Asking clearly and politely makes navigation easier. Think about discussing a price. A customer said, "Is there any discount on this item?" The shopkeeper replied, "Yes, there is 10% off today." Polite inquiries help with shopping decisions. Sometimes we express a wish. My friend said, "I wish I could travel to the mountains this winter." Sharing wishes is a way to connect with others. Here is a moment about offering a seat. A young man said, "Please take my seat. You look tired." Small acts of kindness like this make public spaces friendlier. Think about explaining a reason. My colleague said, "I did not attend the meeting because I was feeling unwell." Explaining reasons politely prevents misunderstandings. Sometimes we talk about finishing a task. My father said, "I have repaired the fence. It is strong now." Sharing accomplishments can be part of friendly conversation. Let us start with a morning activity many people do, preparing breakfast. My friend Rachel said, "I usually prepare boiled eggs and toast for breakfast because it gives me energy." Her husband added, "That sounds good. I will cut some fruit to add to our meal." Discussing routines is a natural way to start conversation. Sometimes we need to ask for directions. A traveler in the city center said, "Excuse me, how can I get to the nearest pharmacy?" A local replied, "Go straight for 2 blocks, then turn left. You will see it next to the post office." Clear instructions make navigation simple. Think about booking an appointment. Mr. Brown called the doctor's office and said, "Good morning, I would like to book an appointment for next Tuesday." The receptionist replied, "Sure, we have a slot at 10 a.m. Will that work for you?" Polite communication ensures clarity. Here is a moment about helping a neighbor with a parcel. Mrs. Lee saw a package at her door and said, "This is not mine. It belongs to Mr. Adams." She knocked on his door and handed it over, saying, "This package was delivered to me by mistake. Here you go." Simple acts of honesty and helpfulness strengthen community bonds. Sometimes we talk about saving electricity. My friend Mark said, "I always turn off the lights when I leave a room. It saves energy." Sharing small habits can encourage others. Let us look at a polite way to ask for water in a restaurant. A guest said, "Could I have a glass of water, please?" The waiter replied, "Of course, I will bring it right away." Courteous requests create smooth interactions. Think about a situation on a train. A passenger asked the conductor, "Is this train going to the central station?" The conductor replied, "Yes, but it will stop at 2 more stations first." Clear questions help avoid confusion while traveling. Sometimes we express our opinions about food. My aunt said, "This soup is too spicy for me. I prefer something milder." Sharing preferences politely is a simple way to communicate. Here is a moment about finding a lost item. My coworker Sarah said, "I lost my pen. Did anyone see a blue pen on the table?" Another colleague replied, "Yes, I saw it near the printer." Asking for help politely works in all situations. Think about asking for a plastic bag in a shop. A man said, "Could you give me a bag for these groceries?" The cashier replied, "Yes, that will be 5 cents extra." Clear and polite requests make transactions smooth. Sometimes we need help with technology. My cousin said, "My laptop is not charging. Could you check the cable?" Asking politely ensures someone will assist you without confusion. Let us talk about visiting a park. A family went for a picnic. The father said, "Let us spread the mat under that tree. It has good shade." The children replied, "Yes, this is a perfect spot." Sharing simple observations and planning makes experiences enjoyable. Think about ordering something online. My friend Emily said, "I ordered a book online yesterday. It will arrive in 3 days." Talking about online purchases is common in everyday conversations. Sometimes we describe our work schedule. My colleague David said, "I work from 9 to 5, but on Fridays I leave early." Sharing routines helps others understand your availability. Here's a moment about using polite language at a hotel. A guest said, "Could you please arrange a taxi for tomorrow morning?" The receptionist replied, "Certainly. What time would you like it?" Polite questions make services run smoothly. Think about asking for a chair. A student said, "Can I bring an extra chair for my friend?" The teacher replied, "Yes, you can put it next to you." Simple, polite interactions make group activities comfortable. Sometimes we share tips with friends. My neighbor said, "If you water your plants in the morning, they stay fresh longer." Sharing advice politely helps everyone. Let us talk about a polite way to ask someone to wait. A shop assistant said, "Could you please wait for a moment? I will check the stock in the back." Clear, polite phrases make interactions smooth. Think about explaining a change of plan. My sister said, "We planned to visit the park today, but it started raining, so we stayed home." Make changes easy to understand. Sometimes we ask about payment methods. A customer said, "Do you accept mobile payments here?" The cashier replied, "Yes, we do." Polite inquiries help transactions go smoothly. Here's a moment about giving advice. My uncle said, "If you feel tired during the day, drink some water and take a short walk." Simple guidance is appreciated when shared politely. Think about asking for more information. A student said, "Could you give me more details about the homework assignment?" The teacher replied, "Yes, you need to write 1 page about your weekend." Polite questions ensure clarity. Sometimes we express excitement about good news. My friend Clara said, "I received a promotion at work today. I'm so happy." Sharing happiness strengthens relationships. Let us talk about buying bread at a bakery. A woman said, "Can I have 2 loaves of brown bread, please?" The baker replied, "Yes, they are freshly baked this morning." Polite requests make shopping pleasant. Think about checking the weather before going out. My cousin said, I always check the weather forecast before leaving for work. Simple habits like this are great to share. Sometimes we ask for help carrying something. A child said, Dad, can you help me carry this bag? It is heavy. Polite requests for help are natural in daily life. Here's a moment about asking for a discount politely. A customer said, Is this price final, or can you give a small discount? The shopkeeper replied, I can reduce it by $2. Courteous negotiation helps maintain respect. Think about saying sorry for a small mistake. My neighbor said, I'm sorry, I parked in front of your gate by mistake. I will move my car. Polite apologies build trust and harmony. Sometimes we describe our lunch. My friend said, I had rice, vegetables, and chicken for lunch today. It was simple but filling. Sharing everyday experiences makes conversation relatable. Let us begin by talking about asking for a service. A man politely asked, Could you send someone to clean the windows this weekend? This is a clear and respectful way to request help. Think about confirming an order. A customer said, I ordered a table and chairs. Can you confirm the delivery date? The shop replied, Yes, it will arrive on Thursday. Confirming details politely avoids misunderstandings. Sometimes we explain our daily travel. My sister said, I take the bus to work because it is faster than driving. Sharing routines is a natural conversation topic. Here is a moment about offering a drink. A host said, Would you like some juice or tea? The guest replied, Tea would be nice, thank you. Simple, polite offers make interactions warm. Think about asking for help finding a street. A traveler asked, Can you tell me where Maple Street is? A passerby replied, Go straight and take the first right. Clear directions help everyone move around easily. Sometimes we share a simple success. My friend said, I finished reading a whole book this week. I'm proud of myself. Celebrating small achievements makes conversation positive. Let us talk about reminding someone about a bill. A receptionist said, Just a gentle reminder, your payment is due tomorrow. Gentle reminders keep communication smooth. Think about asking for quiet. A teacher said, Could everyone please keep their voices down? We're starting the test. Polite requests encourage cooperation. Sometimes we describe a favorite place. My cousin said, I love the small park near our house. It is peaceful and green. Sharing personal favorites makes conversation engaging. Here is a moment about helping with directions inside a building. A visitor asked, Where's the meeting room? The staff replied, It is on the second floor next to the elevator. Clear guidance makes navigation easy. Think about asking for a return policy. A customer said, If this shirt does not fit, can I return it? The shopkeeper replied, Yes, within 7 days with the receipt. Polite questions help resolve issues smoothly. Sometimes we explain why we're late. My friend said, I missed the bus, so I had to walk. Simple explanations help others understand your situation. Let us talk about ordering food for takeaway. A customer said, Can I order this meal for takeaway? Courteous requests make transactions smooth. Think about asking for a phone charger. A friend said, Do you have a charger? My phone battery is low. Simple questions like this are part of daily life. Sometimes we talk about fixing something. My brother said, I fixed the broken chair this afternoon. Sharing small accomplishments is a natural topic. Here's a moment about planning a trip. My cousin said, We are planning to visit the countryside next weekend. Sharing plans encourages conversation. Think about asking about opening hours. A visitor said, What time does this museum open? The guide replied, It opens at 9 in the morning. Asking politely ensures clarity. Sometimes we describe a peaceful evening. My neighbor said, "We sat in the garden and drank tea. The evening breeze was nice." Sharing calm moments helps connect with others. Let us talk about asking for a taxi. A woman said, "Could you call a taxi for me, please?" Polite requests make travel easier. Think about checking a seat reservation. A traveler asked, "Is this seat reserved?" The conductor replied, "No, you can sit here." Polite questions clarify confusion. Sometimes we describe a new recipe. My sister said, "I tried a new soup recipe and everyone liked it." Sharing small successes is part of daily conversation. Here's a moment about saying thank you to a teacher. A student said, "Thank you for helping me with the project." The teacher replied, "You are welcome. You did a great job." Expressing gratitude strengthens relationships. Think about asking for something small. A child said, "Can I have a pencil, please?" Polite requests are important at all ages. Sometimes we talk about weekend cleaning. My mother said, "We will clean the kitchen on Saturday." Sharing routines keeps everyone informed. Let us talk about borrowing a book. A student asked, "May I borrow this book for 3 days?" Polite requests maintain respect. Think about asking about food ingredients. A customer said, "Does this bread contain nuts?" The baker replied, "No, it does not." Questions like this are practical and polite. Sometimes we describe finishing homework. My son said, "I finished my homework before dinner." Sharing achievements encourages positive habits. Here is a moment about giving directions in a mall. A guard said, "The restrooms are on the left side near the food court." Clear directions help visitors navigate easily. Think about asking to share a table. A man asked, "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" The woman replied, "No, you can sit here." Polite questions ensure smooth social interactions. Sometimes we talk about checking a bag. A passenger asked, "Is this bag allowed in the cabin?" Polite inquiries prevent confusion. Sometimes when people try to improve their English, they focus only on grammar or vocabulary. But listening is just as important. Listening is the foundation for speaking. If you do not listen well, you will miss the correct sounds, stress, and rhythm of English. Today, we focus on listening in daily life. For example, at a cafe, if the barista asks, "For here or to go?" many learners may freeze because they do not hear it clearly. Practicing these situations will help you respond naturally. In this podcast, we explore everyday moments where listening is key. We share phrases from family, work, and social situations. Each example helps you understand real conversations and build confidence. Imagine you are at work and a colleague says, "Could you give me a hand with this?" If you do not know this phrase, you might feel confused. It simply means, "Can you help me?" Listening is about expressions, not single words. In English, many phrases do not match their literal meaning. When someone says, "Give me a hand," they are asking for support, not your physical hand. Practicing these expressions helps you react naturally. In social conversations, people use small talk. They may say, "How's it going?" instead of "How are you?" or "Catch you later" instead of "Goodbye." These phrases are friendly and informal. To practice, listen to short clips and repeat their phrases with the same tone. Notice the rising and falling of the voice. This is called intonation. It shows if the speaker is asking a question, making a statement, or showing emotion. Family conversations are often full of quick sentences. A parent might say, "Don't forget to take your lunch," or "Can you feed the dog?" These are short but important. If you are not used to the speed, you might miss them. One helpful method is repeating what you hear silently in your head. For example, if someone says, "I'm heading out for groceries," think, "They are going to the store." This mental repetition strengthens understanding. At work, meetings can be challenging. People speak quickly, share opinions, and sometimes interrupt. Focus on key words, not every word. If your boss says, "Let's revisit this topic after lunch," the main point is that discussion continues later. You do not need to catch each word. In social situations, conversations can change topics quickly. Someone may talk about food, then a movie, then their weekend trip. Listen for connecting words, and, but, so, because. They give clues about the flow. If you hear, "I was tired, so I stayed home," you know the reason for staying home is being tired. Another good habit is shadowing. Listen to a sentence and repeat it immediately. For example, "Let's grab a coffee later." Repeat it right away, even softly. This trains your ears and mouth together. Daily listening can be short but regular. 10 minutes in the morning, 10 at lunch, and 10 before bed add up. Listen with subtitles first, then without. This helps train your ears to understand more each time. Notice the difference between formal and informal situations. At work, you may hear, "Could you please send me that report?" In casual chat, your friend may say, "Shoot me that file." Recognizing styles helps you respond appropriately. Let's practice a real-life example. Your manager says, "We need to touch base on the project status." This means a short update, not touching anything physically. You could respond, "Sure, I can share my progress after lunch." Listening for small expressions makes a big difference. In family life, children speak quickly. They may say, "I'm going to play outside," or "What you doing?" These are shortened forms of "I am going to" and "What are you doing?" English speakers often shorten phrases. Learners need to get used to these shortcuts. At a party, you might hear, "Help yourself to snacks." This means take snacks freely, or "Make yourself at home" means feel comfortable. These polite expressions are common and friendly. Sometimes you won't understand everything, and that's okay. Good listeners ask for clarification. You can say, "Sorry, could you repeat that?" Or, "What does that mean?" Native speakers do this too. It is better to ask than to pretend you understand. Your pronunciation also helps your listening. Learning how sounds change, like "want to" becoming "wanna," helps your ears recognize it faster. Practicing connected speech improves listening. Try listening to different accents. English is spoken worldwide. A UK speaker may say lift for elevator, while an American says elevator. Australians may have different vowel sounds. Exposure prepares you for real-life situations. Sometimes background noise is a challenge. In a busy cafe or on a train, focus on key words and context. If the cashier says something while holding a coffee, it's likely, "Is this yours?" or "Would you like a bag?" The setting gives clues even if you miss words. If you work with clients, listening carefully is a sign of respect. When a client says, "I'm not sure about this proposal," pause. Show you heard them. Many learners ask, "Julia, how can I make listening a habit?" The answer is simple. Connect it to your daily routines. When you make breakfast, play a short English audio. While waiting for the bus, listen to a story. When brushing your teeth, review a phrase you heard earlier. By adding English to everyday activities, listening becomes natural and less stressful. You do not need to sit for hours. Short, consistent practice is more effective than one long session once a week. Consider the difference between active and passive listening. Active listening means full focus. You might pause the audio, write down new words, or repeat sentences aloud. Passive listening is hearing English in the background, like a song while cleaning. Both are useful, but active listening gives deeper learning. Aim for active listening once a day and use passive listening to fill empty moments. At work, online calls are common. Sometimes the sound is unclear or the connection is weak. Do not panic. Focus on the main points. Who is speaking? What action is needed? When should it happen? If you miss something, ask, "Could you repeat the deadline?" Or, "Did you say next Monday or this Monday?" Asking clearly shows you want to understand. In family life, instructions are often quick. Turn off the lights. Set the table. Pass me the salt. Focus on the verbs first. Verbs are action words. If you hear turn, set, pass, your brain starts to guess the meaning before the sentence ends. This helps you act faster. Meeting new people can be fast. "Hi, I'm Daniel. Nice to meet you. This is Emma. She works in marketing." Practice remembering names and jobs. Many learners forget names immediately. A simple trick is to repeat aloud. "Nice to meet you, Daniel." Saying it again helps memory and shows attentiveness. In restaurants, waiters often ask polite questions quickly. "Would you like anything else? Can I get you more water?" Listen for question words. Would, can, do. This helps you answer naturally. "Yes, please," or "No, thank you." Some phrases have hidden meanings. If a friend says it's up in the air, it means the plan is undecided. If your boss says, "Let's call it a day," it means work is finished for now. Collect these phrases. They make listening easier and speaking more natural. Music is a fun listening tool. Choose slow songs with clear lyrics. Read the lyrics first, then close your eyes and focus only on the sounds. Can you catch the words? This trains your ears to understand English even with background noise. Watching movies or series helps too. Start with subtitles in your language to understand the story, then switch to English subtitles. Finally, watch without subtitles. Choose shows with everyday conversations. They match real-life speech better than action or fantasy movies. Do not worry about understanding every word. Even native speakers miss words when people speak fast or use slang. Focus on the main idea. For example, "The traffic was crazy, so I got here late." The key message is that traffic caused the delay. Group conversations can be tricky because people talk over each other. Focus on one voice at a time. Look at the speaker. Watch their lips and body language. Visual cues help you understand meaning even if you miss some words. Speakers often use fillers. These words do not carry meaning. Train your brain to ignore them. Focus on the words before and after. Recording your own voice is another tool. Read a paragraph, record it, then listen again. Do you sound clear? Can you hear your pauses? This helps you notice mistakes and how native speakers sound. Shopping situations are full of quick phrases. Do you need a receipt, paper, or plastic? Would you like to pay by card? Cashiers repeat these often. Learning them makes your experience smoother. Imagine a morning in the city. My friend Tom wakes early and goes for a short walk. Yesterday, he said, "I saw many people jogging in the park. It felt refreshing to breathe the morning air." His wife added, "I like walking too, but I prefer a quieter street near our home." Small details like this help learners understand natural conversation about routines. Sometimes at the supermarket, you need to ask questions. My neighbor Lucy asked, "Excuse me, do you have any fresh strawberries today?" The assistant replied, "Yes, we have them in the second aisle near the apples." Lucy thanked her and continued shopping. Simple exchanges like this are everywhere, and practicing them helps you respond quickly. At work, updates are common. My colleague Jason asked, "Could you let me know how the report is coming along?" I replied, "Yes, I finished the first draft. I will review it before submitting." Listening carefully helps you catch deadlines, tasks, and details. In public transport, listening is essential. A passenger asked the bus driver, "Does this bus stop near Main Street?" The driver replied, "Yes, it stops at the next two corners." Understanding directions and questions is part of daily life. Polite requests make interactions smoother. My friend Sarah said, "Could you help me carry this box? It is very heavy." Another friend replied, "Of course, I will help you." Cooperation and courtesy are everywhere. Imagine a cafe scenario. A customer said, "Could I have a cappuccino with skimmed milk?" The barista replied, "Sure. Would you like it hot or cold?" The customer answered, "Hot, please." Practicing these dialogues helps learners respond naturally. At home, chores involve instructions. My cousin Daniel said, "Please water the plants before you leave." His wife replied, "I will. Do you want me to add fertilizer too?" Giving and following instructions politely is common in daily life. Sometimes clarification is needed. At work, a colleague said, "I don't understand this section of the contract. Could you explain it?" I replied, "Yes, this part talks about the payment schedule. You pay in 2 installments." Asking questions prevents mistakes. At social gatherings, people discuss hobbies. My neighbor Emily said, "I started painting last month. It helps me relax." Her husband replied, "That sounds great. I tried painting too, but I prefer sketching." Listening to preferences helps you respond naturally. Sometimes small problems arise. My friend Rachel said, "The Wi-Fi is very slow today. I cannot send my emails." Her colleague suggested, "Try restarting the router. It usually fixes it." Understanding problems and solutions is part of everyday conversations. In restaurants, polite expressions are common. A waiter said, "Would you like to see the dessert menu?" A customer replied, "Yes, please. I want to check the options." Practicing short dialogues like this makes real-life responses easier. Family plans are often discussed. My uncle said, "We will visit our cousins this weekend." His wife replied, "That sounds good. Should we bring some snacks?" Listening to future plans helps learners understand natural future tenses. Asking for directions inside a mall is practical. A visitor asked, "Excuse me, where is the electronics store?" The staff replied, "Go straight ahead, take the escalator to the second floor. It will be on your left." Listening carefully to prepositions like ahead and left is essential. Shopping for clothes often involves opinions. My friend Peter said, "I like this shirt, but do you think the color suits me?" His colleague replied, "Yes, it looks good on you. The color is perfect for this season." Listening to opinions helps learners respond naturally. At home, sharing tasks are common. My sister said, "Can you take out the trash before dinner?" Her husband replied, "Sure, I will do it now." Simple instructions like this train learners to act quickly. Sometimes we need polite guidance. A young man said, "Could you show me how to use this printer?" The assistant replied, "Of course. Press this button first, then follow the instructions on the screen." Listening to step-by-step guidance develops comprehension. In a bank, a customer asked, "Do you provide international transfers?" The clerk replied, "Yes, we do. You need your passport and account details." Listening for key words like international transfers is crucial. People describe feelings too. My friend Maria said, "I feel nervous about the presentation tomorrow." Her colleague replied, "Don't worry, you prepared well and it will go smoothly." Listening to emotions helps learners respond with empathy. At work, team discussions involve opinions. My colleague said, "I think we should change the layout of the report. It will be easier to read." I replied, "I agree. A clearer layout will help everyone understand better." Practicing agreement and polite disagreement is part of natural conversation. Sometimes people share travel experiences. My friend Sam said, "We visited the mountains last weekend. The view was breathtaking." His wife replied, "It must have been beautiful." At home, someone said, "Could you close the window? The wind is cold." Another replied, "Sure, I'll do it now." Listening for immediate actions and responding naturally is everyday practice. Friends discuss entertainment too. My friend said, "I watched a short documentary on wildlife yesterday." Another replied, "Interesting. Did you learn something new?" Listening and reacting to experiences helps learners practice natural conversation. At the grocery store, someone asked, "Is this milk fresh?" The assistant replied, "Yes, it arrived this morning." Questions like this are practical listening exercises. Transportation experiences are common topics. My friend Alex said, "The bus was very crowded this morning. I had to stand the whole way." His husband replied, "I prefer taking the train. It is faster and you can sit." Listening to comparisons helps learners understand preferences. At a cafe, a customer asked, "Can I have a tea without sugar?" The barista replied, "Certainly. Do you want it hot or iced?" The customer answered, "Hot, please." Listening for questions and responding politely is essential. People also discuss shopping experiences. My cousin Rachel said, "I bought a new jacket yesterday. The color is exactly what I wanted." Her husband replied, "That's great. Did it fit well?" Listening to details helps learners respond naturally and ask follow-up questions. In an office, colleagues share information. My coworker said, "The printer is out of paper again." I replied, "I will refill it right away. Thank you for letting me know." Listening for problems and solutions is practical. Sometimes people ask for advice about small tasks. My friend Emma said, "I want to cook pasta tonight, but I am not sure which sauce to use." Her husband replied, "Try a tomato basil sauce. It's simple and delicious." Listening to suggestions helps learners make choices. At home, step-by-step instructions are common. My nephew said, "Can you show me how to tie my shoes?" His mother replied, "Sure. First, make 2 loops, then cross them and pull." Listening carefully builds comprehension skills. Sometimes people share updates about their daily activities. My friend Mark said, "I went for a short jog this morning. It felt refreshing." His wife replied, "I prefer walking. It is slower, but I enjoy the fresh air." Listening to routines like this helps learners